All right, y'all, happy Friday. Today we're going to keep looking at percent change, right? So adding a percent tax onto a cost oh, excuse me, or taking a percent discount, kind of like we worked on yesterday. But I wanted to talk today about a little shortcut that we can use that's going to make our math a little faster. And it's a pretty efficient way to kind of calculate those percent increase or or decrease problems that we worked with yesterday. Okay, and all of it comes back to this right here, 100%, right? The whole thing. Okay, so if you buy let's say a $2 drink at 7-Eleven, and let's say it comes with a 20% tax, you have to pay for 100%, basically the whole drink, plus that 20% tax. Okay, so 100% for the drink, plus another 20% for the tax. So how much are you actually paying here? You're paying for 120% of the cost, right? 100% from the original cost of the drink and then 20% from the tax adds up to 120%. So we can actually, instead of doing what we did yesterday where we like find out what 20% is and then add it back in, we can kind of skip all that and just be like, oh, yo, if I have to pay an extra 20% with the 100% that I started with, I have to pay 120% total. Okay, and this method is going to be a bit quicker than what we did yesterday. It's not going to give you a different answer, but if you want a faster way to do these type of problems, this is it. Okay, so the first video today, we're going to go through a couple of these, and I want this first one in your boat books. This one deals with a football and some tax, right? So if the football originally cost $24 and there's an 18% tax, how much is that going to cost? I want this problem in your boat books, and all I need you to write on the left-hand side, $24 football, 18% tax, and then the work will kind of go with that. Okay, so we could do this the way we did it yesterday, where we find out what 18% of our original is, and then add it back into the 24. Or we can try this with this kind of new method, right? We're starting with 100%. That's the cost of the football. We have to pay the whole thing, plus we're adding in an 18% tax, right? So what's the total that we're going to have to pay here? Well, hey, we're going to have to pay 118%. Okay, so what we can do is we can just say, yo, I've got a $24 football, and I have to pay 118%. Because that's going to account for the cost of the football plus the extra tax in the price, right? That's the whole thing, okay? And this math is going to be a lot the same as we've dealt with before. Percents are hard, right? It's hard to do math with percents, so we need to turn this into either a fraction, which is 118 out of 100, right? It's still percent, it's out of 100, or we can do this with a decimal. If we divide these things, we'll see that 118% as a decimal is actually a number bigger than 1. It's 1.18, okay? And when we grab our calculator, 1.18 times the 24 is going to give us $28.32. Okay, and then before we sign off on this problem, let's think, does this make sense in terms of this problem, right? It's a little bit more than 24, but it's not like twice the price or anything crazy like that. So I would say that this answer does make sense. Okay, again, you can do this the way that we talked yesterday. We refine the tax and then add it on to the original price. But in my brain, this process is a little bit faster. Okay, let's look at one more example here, and I also want this one in your boat books. Okay, this one deals with a sweater, and we're going to actually do 2 steps here. And I'm going to do this one a little bit faster. Okay, I want you to write $38 sweater. It's 25% off, and that's going to be a little bit new. And then we're also adding in the Washington State sales tax of 15%. Okay, so in order to do this one, we're starting with $38. Okay, we normally would have to pay 100%, but let's make that a percent. But we're taking off a 25% discount. Okay, so that means we actually only have to pay 75% of our original cost. Okay, so let's figure out what that price is. And it's really important that you separate these steps, right? We need to do one step first, find the answer. Second step, find the answer. Okay, so 38, and I'm finding out what 75% of that is, right? That's either 75 over 100 or 0.75. Okay, when I grab my calculator, 0.75 times $38 gives us $28.50. Okay, and this is a good start for us, right? This is what the price of the sweater would be if it was marked off by 25%. But am I finished yet? No, I still need to include this 15% tax. Okay, so again, we could do this the old way where we find that 15%, add it back onto 28.50, or we can just think, okay, so I already have to pay 100% of this new price, right? And then I'm adding in a 15% tax. I'm paying 115% of this. Okay, so I have to multiply this number times 115%, right? And I can do this the same way as before, 115 out of 100, or as a decimal, 1.15. Okay, so if I just take this number I had before and multiply it by 1.15, I'm going to get 32. Okay, and on my calculator, it says 32.775. Okay, you can't have half of a penny when you pay at the register. So we're going to round this up to $32.78. Okay, so on this problem, we found the discount, right? And we did that part first. And then the last thing we do is we need to add in the tax, right? So once we found this, we used our new method, multiplied by 115% to get a total cost of $32.78. Okay. After this, the only other things I've got in here is some delta math. There's going to be 8 problems for you guys. The first couple are pretty straightforward. They just ask you to find like 80% of this number, right? You can do that the old way, where you find 80% and you add it in, or you can do that the new way, where you multiply it by 0.80 or whatever the case may be, like we looked at here. Yeah, delta math is the only thing we've got today. When I see you guys again on Tuesday, we have what I'm hoping will be a pretty fun Desmos activity based on the old video game, the Oregon Trail. So stay tuned for that. Let me know if you have any questions with finding percents. Like I said before we started this skill, this is a really important skill no matter what you go into. It's really helpful to be able to make these estimations in your head, to be able to do these calculations, because finance is all about percents, right? So understanding money, if you understand this skill, it will help you out in the long term. Okay, so take a look at the Delta Math assignment for today, and I'll catch up with you guys on Tuesday. All right, have a great weekend.